LAN CS is back with the PGL major, and major CS is back as well. And I don't think we can be so excited, obviously, to watch these teams again and have like a proper stage, a proper format. We've had great tournaments in the online era. I must say my interest in CS has kind of dwindled a little bit. I just don't find it as interesting if it's not on LAN. Yes, TI has passed and Worlds has passed, so I've been watching a bit of that, but really, really excited to have this major back, and the lineup looks amazing. Couldn't be more excited about it, and thank God. So we got the PGL major coming up in Stockholm. It starts on the 26th. And what we want to do here is just kind of look at the individual teams in the contender space before we kind of get into the major, where it really counts. And look at the teams competing. And yeah, see what we're going to get and make some predictions. I want to just review the teams in the contender stage. We're not going to go through every game every single day, but it's cool to kind of look at the opening matchups and see where we're going to head. Again, very excited for the PGL Major. I mean, I think we all are. Again, these predictions are for fun. If you're a betting man, great. If not, cool. Just adds more of a narrative to each of the individual matches, so that's great. So the first game we have up is the all Swedish match, and I think it's going to be a super interesting one. I think that Astralis obviously got rid of Bubsky 2 weeks ago, when it didn't really get rid of him but changed him up, and kind of got this 4 core now back in the lineup with just the replacement of obviously Device, which happened a while ago. And is this Astralis, the major dominating Astralis? Are we going to see them go on a run again that, with what we kind of expect of them? They've faltered before, and we've kind of said, we don't know about Astralis going into the major, and then they go and win the whole thing. So it's going to be really interesting watching this game. It's definitely, I'm going to be following Astralis closely. So I suppose the notes would be legends ? Is this the team that can go 3-0, clean it up, super easy, streets ahead, top 5 team, top 1 team maybe, and just show how good they are? My honest opinion is we'll see in the first game, because why? They're going up against Copenhagen Flames, and this is a team that has gone on a run extraordinaire. They've looked very, very good. They've beaten Enterprise. Yeah, they did lose to Fiend a week ago, but they've beaten Gambit. They've beaten Fnatic. They're a bunch of youngsters with a great coach in Peter. And, there's a lot of impressive people there. I mean, I'm looking at this kind of middle core here, especially with Nikodas, Rouge, and Jabby. And it's a great lineup, especially Rouge. He's kind of been dominating the scene. I think Nikodas is a good player as well. I've been very keen on him. The odds are interesting. I think they're fair. I think this is a bet on Astralis. I think that Copenhagen Flames have been on a good run, but a major on LAN against Astralis is where everything changes. I think they're going to get a big kind of wake up call. We'll write that. Yeah. And I think they'll go on to improve after this. I think they'll lose, and they'll go down to the kind of 0-1 in the Swiss bracket, and they'll pick up their game. I think they're a very good team, and I do think they'll get through on about a 3-2 rating for sure. But yeah, a lot of exciting thing there. We are obviously looking at the main man Glaive, being the leader that he is, pretty much the best IGL I think ever in Counter-Strike. Getting them all together, getting them prepared. I think Lucky is a great talent, and we're seeing great results from him early on. I think he's got a solid rating. It's okay. It's only an average of about a 1 rating, but this could be you're playing against with these kind of talents, and you can fire off very nicely. Right, so moving on. In the next game, we'll have Spirit coming off the back of a TI win. Do you think it will affect the other players in the organization? Maybe. I mean, I think that CSGO Spirit is lesser than the Dota Spirit. I think that they've still got much more to prove than the Dota team. That being said, this Spirit team is super exciting, and they can beat anyone, and I think that's what makes them super scary. A lot of CIS Counter-Strike is obviously like this, but they've got that kind of strong base, I would say, in someone like the people that have been around for like Chopper and Mur. These are guys that are veterans of the scene now, and they've got a lot of talent in someone like Dexter, who I think is an extremely impressive player. Someone like Mur and can pop off. Magix can pop off, lesser likely, but these are the guys that can go and drop 35 kills in regulation time and really just dominate a game. So they're kind of random, able to just shit off. And that makes them a very, very, very scary team to play. Have we seen a lot of them in recent times? Not amazing. They've lost to teams that they probably shouldn't be losing to going into a major, and they've taken a couple of wins. When they win heavily. So we'll see. I mean, again, they haven't had like very, very strong competition recently. The last time we saw them playing in Tier 1, they got a bit taken apart by people like Ence, Heroic, and Astralis. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, people have had a lot of time. Again, this is LAN CS. The nerves kick in. It could be interesting. I could see someone like Spirit be one of those teams that no one expects and goes on that 3-0 run. But that being said, we'll see. We got to see, like, the first round kind of is the weirdness of these kind of Spirit / CIS teams. Next up is Faze. So in my opinion, I mean, Faze have had their mixed bag of results. I'm a big Faze fan. I think it's got a great balance in the team. I think their past results have never mattered. Just because of the nature of their lineup. I think these two in particular, Twist and Brokey, are very scary. I think they're some of the most talented players in the world. Then you got someone like Olafmeister, who's looked fucking good in the last kind of 6 months, or whenever, since he's gone back to Faze. And he's a major player, man. He's the guy you want on your team for majors. So those three especially, I'd be worried about. I think Rain can pop off, but he's never kind of a tournament pop off kind of guy. He'll pop off for a game or two. So we'll do the Olaf factor, and then I think you've got the two youngsters in Twist and Brokey that are like a very scary prospect. So I think the odds are fair. My prediction to this game would be that Faze win. I'll bet on this game. I think that Faze will win. I think that Spirit will bounce back though, whoever they play next. But yeah, it's also another very, very interesting game to watch, and I expect Faze to get into the next stage of the tournament, and I hope they do as well. I think. I'm a big fan of Carrigan as well, and I think he's had time to work with the team. We typically do see these kind of huge climbs from Carrigan teams, and they kind of eke out a little bit. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen now. I'm hoping that this is kind of his big event. But we'll see. Both these two games are going to be real interesting. I mean, both Copenhagen Flames and Spirit are similar teams in the way that they can go on runs, and they could, before anyone blinks, in a best of one Swiss format. Yes, we do have best of threes to kind of get through or to lose, but I think these kind of teams can make a run and be very, very scary. But I think the odds are right for both of those. The Faze factor is always scary. They could be terrible on the day. They've been terrible before. Will it happen at a major on LAN? I don't think so. For a second. Next, we have Ence Esports, the Finnish organization, and Godsent, now the Brazilian organization. Ence, with this mix, I've been watching a lot of Ence, actually, and I don't really know what to make of this team. I watched them lose to NIP. I think it was the Lyngby Vikings, which are almost sad not to see them in the major, but and then FPX. I think they've got some of the coolest players in Hades and Spinks. I think those guys are awesome to watch. Very exciting, very talented players. I think I like how Diha plays as well. I think he's also an exciting, like kind of lurky type player. Very interesting player to play. Again, it's nice to see Snappy being in like a top tier team as well. And just for such a talented player and such a great player, and just kind of, he was going to be in Mongolia, for God's sake. I mean, it's nice to see him be here. But I don't have a lot to say. I think this team still has a lot to prove. I think that if they are going to make a run here, it's going to be through the team working and gelling, and that we've seen signs of that. They beat Vitality in a best of one. They beat G2. They beat Astralis. This is a team that can win. And that's all recently. That's all in the last kind of month. But nuclear games from Hades and Spinks, I think, throughout. And then we go to Godsent, this kind of Brazilian team, and these like Taco and Phelps coming back to the major and just being looking so good as well. It must be said. Yeah, they did get hammered by Furia a couple of weeks ago, but they are looking good. And these guys of Dumao and Barton are they've always been around. The team seems to look like it's gelling, and that they are getting the results, man. They've beaten EG, they've beaten Liquid, a Liquid team that I think are looking pretty good as well, and they're generally just hammering everyone in North America. Now, is that, except Furia, but anyone in North America, is that a thing? Well, it is a thing when someone like Phelps is averaging a 1.2 rating across these in the last 3 months. Phelps is at his prime was one of the scariest players out there. And I'm going to add in the Spinks factor as well, because I think Spinks / Hades, I think these are the guys that are, in the kind of mix here. I think, Phelps is a scary, scary player when he's on. He's one of the most mechanically skilled players out there, if he's on. And the problem in the last kind of 5 years is he just hasn't been on. But this Godsent team seem to be feeling each other. I think the other guy that, is certainly feeling himself is Dumao, who's looking really, really, really good. That being said, I think the results that Ence have got, you've got to lean towards Ence. Godsent are a scary prospect. I think if you're going to make a risky bet in this tournament, hey man, go for the Brazilian boys and get a 2.6 to 1. I mean, I think Taco is a smart guy. They seem to have got the firepower. Do they have the firepower against a team like Ence's? I don't know. But certainly an interesting game. A lot of good traits in this. I think historically you'd look at Taco teams and say, well, they got a lack of top firepower, and just we're going to go into VP next, but they've certainly had a lack of firepower, and they've just fixed that. Will that be the case against Ence, which is a team that got firepower on the board? I mean, I remember watching Ence, it was a couple of weeks ago, and Snappy dropped 40 kills or something ridiculous in regulation. So, interesting game to watch. I think from a map perspective, they'll probably play something like Nuke or Overpass. Both teams are very good on that. Maybe Mirage. Yeah, probably. They'll actually, probably play Mirage. So we'll see. Not much more to say about that. It's kind of this random Brazilian factor that you just don't know whether they're going to crack it. They've got a lot of players now at the major. We've got to see one of these teams pop off. We can talk more about Brazilian teams coming up, but this is a team that can give us a surprise. Right, moving on to the Pain VP game. Pain is a team that I don't know very well. I don't think they're very good. I know that my South African brethren up here in North America play against them a lot in ATK and Extra Salt. But, I know these names. I know Neckers, Hardzal, Bigazera. Safi's kind of like the new guy on the scene, and he's looking really, really, really good. Their results aren't great. They got hammered by OG and Liquid. Well, I didn't get hammered, but they lost to OG, Liquid, and Furia very recently. They did hammer ATK, but that's not really saying much. The ATK haven't looked really all that great. But yeah, so good team. I think I'm not going to talk about them too much. You got the odds up tops of 3 to 1.3, and I think that's fair. I think that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that Pain will struggle to make it out of this qualifier, this contenders stage. I don't see them getting out of it. I think, if anything, this is a young group of guys. I think they'll be happy to be at a major. They've got a lot to learn. They've got a lot of talent. It would be great to see them make it out. I think that this is a very stacked contenders stage. If we look at the teams, I don't see Pain making it out. And I could, honestly, if they lose badly to VP, I could see them going 0-3. And, yeah. Right here, lack of major experience. I'm very worried about Pain. And, you know, I work with a lot of Brazilians, and I know that they'll be cheering them on madly. So I really hope that they come right. Moving on to VP. So, VP have this guy called Yukindar. And if he is on, they win the entire tournament. If he's not, they don't even make it out of contenders. And that is, for me, the whole VP story. Yes, they've just got rid of Sanji. Do I think... I don't think anyone has a definitive answer to the Sanji thing. Was, yes, he had the lowest stats and they were super bad stats and he probably needed to go. Are we going to see the problem with VP's strategy from him leaving? Probably. I mean, I think that I don't think that that Sanji was the problem at all. I think they've got an identity problem, and we're gonna find out. I think that James is also, again, one of the most talented AWPers. Buster and Quickhead can go off. I think that their game plan, from what I've seen, and again, this is all my opinion, but from what I've seen, is if Yukindar goes off, VP wins. Then you look at someone like Flit, who's obviously just been added for Sanji. Flit is I'm a big fan of Flit. Great player, very reliable, solid player. Will he kind of fix VP's problems? Maybe. You know, VP is the kind of team that if they click, they've got the talent and the firepower to beat anyone, and they could, again, just go on a run. Do I think that they're going to beat Pain through just skill set alone? Yes, I do. I think if they play this passive style, Pain might get on top of them. But I just can't see VP losing against Pain. And I can't see VP losing to most of these teams, to be honest. I mean, I could see them losing to Faze and Astralis. But they should get out, and I could be so wrong, and I don't think anyone could predict it. But I think Flit is a good option. I think that he's played in a good team in Forza. You know, for what firepower they have, it'll be interesting to see how this kind of dynamic works and whether Flit is the solution. You know, maybe they just needed an extra bit of firepower. They certainly have a lot now. So yeah, will be a very interesting match. I don't think I probably won't watch this match over the other ones, but I certainly will keep a close eye on the results, watch the highlights, and I think those odds are very fair. I'd definitely bet on VP in this game. And, you know, the beauty of LAN is that it's just I always feel like it's kind of more reliable. So, yeah. Next game up is Big versus Entropiq. And I'll say this. Big, I don't think that they solved their problems. I don't think that Gade was the answer. And I think the results since Gade joined has shown that. Yes, they beat Heroic. I think it was a Heroic in shambles. And we'll talk a bit about Heroic after this. But Big, and I'm a fan of Big. I really like Big. I mean, I love Tabson as this leader who's this insane fragger, probably, you know, one of the best fragging IGLs there is. I think that you cannot have Tizian and Gade in the same team because I think they are the same player. And that's my opinion. I think that I just realized I spelt Searson's name wrong, but that's okay. What did I? Searson. No, there's not a double Y. I think that, I just don't think you can have Tizian and Gade in the same team. I think Gade's a great player. I think he's a great anchor type support. I think they've got the tools in Keto's ability to kind of, you know, let's actually write here, you know, Keto factor, Keto, even Tabson. I mean, all their players, I think especially Tabson, Searson, and Keto are kind of guys that can go ballistic in a game and really, really do some damage. So yeah, so big. Oh, they've lost so much recently. You know, we just had this kind of meme tournament, but even before that, I wasn't very impressed with them. They lost to G2, they lost to Mouz, they lost to Nip. Nip are great, and they're looking better and better every day. So I'm undecided. I think that the odds in this game are right. And you know, Entropiq is a team as well that really excites me. So I think I'm saying that I'm a big fan of every team, but you know, these are all great teams. So Entropiq are a cool team to watch. You know, this kid Alien, he's something, man. And they've got a good balance of old versus new. You know, kind of good. They've been playing really good CS from what I've seen. They have lost to Sinners recently. They just beat Dig, I think it was. But good team. And again, it's this Russian aspect of, sorry, not Russian, but the CIS aspect of an ability to pop off. And these guys are a solid bet to bet on. I think if you were a gambling man, you'd bet on Entropiq. I think these guys are, you know, they could get a win here. I think that Big have been looking very bad, and I don't think that getting back into it, going back into the drawing board with Tabson and working on strats, I just don't think they have the wild card factor that they had with Zentaris, just like a pure aimer. And while Keto can be that, I think the German CS is very structured, just like, you know, their culture, if I can even say that. But certainly Big is super structured. I think that this could be the upset, the first upset of the tournament, where Entropiq will, you know, could certainly beat Big. If you're a gambling person, I'd say go for that. Entropiq are on a good run. They did lose to Sinners and Mad Lions, and they actually lost a funny game to 9Z, I think it was, recently. But you know, again, it's the major, and I don't know if Big even had the tools to beat someone like Sinners. So anyway, let's move on quickly. Entropiq game, I'd say, you know, wild card. Entropiq could win this. And they could also be just like the boys at Spirit and just go on a run. Right, moving on. Movistar Riders, or Movistar Riders, however you want to pronounce it. Obviously, we've got this guy, Sanpeas, who is going ballistic. I mean, he's got, I think it's a 1.4 rating. He is crushing it. Looking really, really good. I think Movistar Riders have been like this kind of tier 2, tier 3 gatekeeper, if you will, for a very, very long time. I think they're starting to show massive results in that they're beating very good teams. They beat G2 recently. They beat Copenhagen Flames recently. They beat Complexity. Again, I know it's memes and all that kind of stuff, but they beat Endpoint. Even though Cole are not looking great, but they beat Skade, who I think are a very good team and on the kind of verge of that, like, kind of top 20 and being a top team, just like Entropiq was, I'd say, 2 months ago. So yeah, it looks like it's working for Movistar Riders. This, you know, the Spanish lineup, good mix again of, like, they've got a lot of experience now. Do I think that a team like this might crumble at a major? I mean, yeah, maybe, certainly maybe. We'll see. And I think that they have got the easiest possible game to start in Renegades. And Renegades are similar to them in that they come from a different region. Obviously, the Aussies are coming up, and this was the... God, what were they even called beforehand? Anyway, this Renegades lineup with Sicko, Alistair, Ence, Hats, and Malta. Love watching these guys play. And I think, obviously, I mean, Ence is the Ence factor. It's right here as well. Ence factor this guy's also 1.4 rating, seriously good player. I think that all of Renegades stats are bloated by the scene that they're playing in Australia, and I think that could be the factor that where Movistar Riders beats them, and that's why the odds are so heavily in Movistar Riders' favor, is because they're far more used to European CS and playing against much harder opponents, and they've beaten good opponents. So I think this would be a good bet. I think Movistar Riders beat Renegades, and I think Renegades have a very tough tournament, as much as I don't want them to. I'm a fan of the Aussies. I think that I think that Movistar Riders are on a good wicket, good momentum coming into this tournament. They should take it. They should take it. And Renegades, yeah, pray for them. Pray for them, friends, because they have shown good results here and there in the past, but I don't know. It's pretty stacked contender stage. You know, let's say they go and play. I mean, yeah, if they play someone like Payne or I can't see them kind of going down. All right, anyway, so our last two matches will be Heroic versus Tyloo and Mouz versus Sharks. I think just first starting on Heroic. Heroic are an interesting team. Obviously, just had this meteoric rise to number one earlier on in the year during online tournaments. Had this huge scandal. Let's not go into it, but Hunden's an asshole, and just let's never talk about him ever again. But a team like this is racked by drama, and you can be sure that the scene is super salty against them, and they're feeling the pressure. They're feeling the hate. In all fairness, that being said, they've got the best support in the world, in my opinion, in Refresh. I need to correct his name, yeah. I think that this kid is insane. Tessus has also been a bit shy of late. For someone like him. Like, he's so sick. And then obviously they got Staven, however you want to call him. I call him Storn. I think that's the right way to do it. And Cadian, who are very, very consistent players. I mean, Cadian's a great IGL, great fragging, AWPing IGL. This team on its day will beat anyone. And I think they beat Tyloo. I think that Tyloo... so let's go Solidarity. Solidarity. But drama and low... not ego, but, low vibe, I think. It's gonna be interesting to see. Heroic have tended to be a loud team, full of charisma, full of energy. Let me not vibe. Let's go energy. I think I think they should go 3-0. I think they're the strongest team, the most settled team in this group, except maybe Faze and not even Astralis. Yeah, except maybe Faze. They're the most kind of settled team. They've been around. They've had the same lineup for a while. Let's talk about Mouz soon. But yeah, I mean, in reality, Heroic are one of the strongest teams at this tournament. They should easily go 3-0. There's drama. There's low energy. It's Captain Cadian. Can he pull it back? Because they certainly have the weapons and the tools to just crush this. And they've been okay at LAN as well. So we'll see. Tyloo, on the other hand, obviously this kind of dominant Chinese team, and I love watching them. They've been crushing most people in their region. They're coming off the back of 5-0 against Vici, 5-0 in maps. We know these guys now. It's a summer attacker, nobody. These are guys that have been tanking, have been around the scene for ages. Summer, obviously, in my opinion, Summer and Attacker being kind of like the best players there, and have been there for a while. So they can create upsets. We know this. These are not bad players. They're up against some of the best players in the world. I don't see Tyloo winning this. Again, this factor here, if Heroic come up and they're shit and they're not feeling themselves, Tyloo will beat them. Tyloo are good enough to beat them, and if they're not feeling themselves, Tyloo will beat them. I'm actually gonna leave this. I'm not gonna put a bet in here, because it's too. The odds are low enough for me to not to care, and I mean, it just could go Tyloo's way. You just don't know. So I'm kind of looking at this as very much looking at Heroic and how they'll perform. on the day, and we'll see how that goes. And then the last game of the day, of the first round of the contenders, is obviously Mouz versus Sharks. And I know I've said I'm a fan of everyone, but I'm a big fan of Mouz, and I think that this team now needs to show what they're all about. I think Dexter's had a good amount of time in this team. It's brimming, overloading with talent. And they need to show what they're about. They should go in here and they should be looking to 3-0. I think that Dexter was a great replacement for them. I think he's a very smart, good, cerebral kind of CS player. And he's got all the tools. This is a team that can dominate anyone on their day. And they have the tools. The problem here is this guy who is their AWPer in Acor, who has been very, very bad. And it's undeniable. I don't even think he's got a 1.0 rating, or maybe just a 1.0 rating in the last kind of 3 months. And they're losing to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. And then beating teams that, I don't know. They haven't played a lot of CS in the last kind of 2 months. With some one or two weird results. This is a team again. Like they could just pop off. They've got the tools. Acor needs to really play well. And I think for people like Frozen and BMAS, who are like these insane aimers and riflers that are really good, these guys need to show their worth now. They've been around long enough that they're not babies of the scene anymore. They're not just talents. Frozen, especially, I think is this is a kid that can rock your world. And then obviously Rops, who he's on every person's top 5 list. And for Mouz to retain a player like Rops, being that good as a rifler, they've got to show results now. Or I could see someone like Rops leaving, or they make big changes in either Acor or BMAS. This is an event where Mouz must perform, or I can see changes incoming, just because of the kind of level of talent that they have. And I don't like making these blank statements, because Acor is an amazing AWPer, and he's shown that. I mean, he was the Mad Lions carry for so long. But let's just say Acor must perform. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. I'm sure he knows it. And then finally, the Sharks team, another Brazilian team. Again, lovely to have so many Brazilians in it. I mean, the Brazilian fans are the best fans in the world. Definitely, it's not even close. So yeah, really excited to see them. I don't know these guys almost at all. I must say. I mean, I know Pank. I've seen him around. I've seen reels and around. I've watched these guys play once or twice. Do I have any notion of how good they are? I know they just beat Mibba. They play almost exclusively in the South American region. I think 4-2, 1.2, and you just bet on Mouz, and it should be straightforward for Mouz. Another team that's going to struggle, I think, in the contender stage. Let's hope the best for them. But this is an easy Mouz bet for me. But again, this is a major. People are super nervous. I think across the board, people are super nervous. Heroic are super nervous. Movistar Riders know they should beat Renegades. Big know they should beat Entropiq, but that's a very scary team. VP have just made a big thing. They know they should beat Pain. Pain are these NA, the America's gatekeepers to like tier 1 NA, if you will. And it's major time. These boys on majors, they should perform. Taco and Phelps, obviously, just major winners, so they know what this is all about. None of these guys have the experience that these two have. I think, so the major and the LAN factor will throw it all up in the air. But I think, if we properly go through this, most of the odds make sense. I think we've gone through what we believe will be upsets. But, all in all, just super, super excited for what I hope to be a fantastic tournament. I'll be watching it every step of the way. Definitely will kind of do another review of results and probably see how wrong we were, or how wrong I was. throughout the tournament, and we'll review the kind of final. We'll review this in stages. I'm not going to do every round, but yeah, I mean, guys, enjoy watching. Yeah, let's chat soon.